Tips from Trestle is brought to you by eMenu Choice Point of Sale and Clark Food Service Equipment. Welcome to Tips from Trestle, the Senior Living Food and Hospitality Podcast. This podcast explores the senior living industry with a unique focus on food, hospitality, and the community experience. I'm your host, Aaron Fish. My goal for this podcast: educate, inform, and inspire leaders in senior living. How? By bringing the resident and customer experience to the front of mind in our industry. We should bring the passionate spirit of food and hospitality to everything that we do and everyone we serve each and every day. So what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. Today on Tips from Trestle, I'm joined by Nathan Jones. Nathan is the founder of Dash Media, a company dedicated to transforming perceptions of senior living through authentic storytelling. A former college football coach, Nathan discovered his passion for senior living in 2016, which led him to create Senior Living Stories, the top followed senior living Instagram account with over 180,000 followers. His TikTok and LinkedIn presence have also grown significantly, reaching millions with heartwarming stories of older adults. In 2022, Nathan launched Dash Media to help senior living companies maximize their social media impact through video content. By the end of 2023, Dash Media's accounts and client accounts have reached nearly 200 million people, sharing stories that drive sales, aid recruitment, build culture, and ultimately change the perception of senior living. Nathan, thanks for joining me today on Tips from Trestle.
I appreciate you having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, no, very excited to talk to you because one of the things that I think we do when it comes, especially around food, right? But in senior living, how do we tell our stories about what we're doing, how we impact the lives of our residents, and really show all of the really great positive things that are happening? We always hear negatives. You see all the bad stories about all that stuff. So what are we doing to counter that? And so what you do is very much that, and bring that with video and the visual content. And so I'd love for you to kind of tell us a little bit. You're here at Georgia Senior Living Association conference. You did a presentation just a little bit ago about this. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about some of the strategies that operators can use around content and what kind of content works best, and just kind of tell us a little bit about what you do and how it works.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I kind of live what we're talking about is like these misconceptions. Food is often said, food is not good in senior living. It's not good in nursing homes. It doesn't taste good. Like, I don't want that kind of food the rest of my life. But when you actually go and you actually are in a community, most people walk away saying, I did not know it tasted, I didn't realize it tasted this good. I didn't realize food was actually this good. Right. And it's frustrating for me because, I thought the same thing. And it's like, that gets back to, why do people think that? Yeah. It's because we allow the news media to control the narrative. And the only thing the news media really shares about senior living is when something goes bad.
Right.
And so the only time that people share online on Facebook is when something goes bad. And so it's our job to change that. And today, more than ever, we have access to free platforms that allow us to share free content that actually tell the true story. And so you do have to invest in telling that story. There's ways and tips and strategies and skill sets that can tell the story better. But it just starts with these 30 to 60-second snippets of sharing what life is like really in the community, not what the news is saying.
Yeah. When you're working with a client and you're in a community, and I mean, you probably see hundreds of like great opportunities to tell that 60-second story. How do you go about finding which ones should be first and foremost? Which ones should you start with? Like, how can an operator start thinking strategically about, okay, how do I find the right stories that tell, the ones that make the most impact for the people I want to see them?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. So, I mean, first, usually when you ask a senior living operator, do you have any good stories? They start rattling them off. They know Miss Jones used to do this and she invented this and she has the funniest story about this. And so start with those people that first come to mind. And what I said in my presentation is you got to stop making your organization the protagonist of the story. You can't make them the hero. You got to make the residents and your team members the hero of the story. And so when you're trying to show that you have good food, you don't say we have good food. You show who does the food impact? The resident. Okay. And so who's going to talk the best about your food if it's good? The resident. And so sit down with the resident, have them take you around the kitchen while the cooks are cooking their breakfast, and have the resident tell the story of the food, not just saying we have good food. Here's a good picture of it. We see that every day. I want to know from the people that are actually eating the food, what they think about it. And so I think from a senior living operator, there's every part of your business, activities, just living there, community, let the residents tell those stories. And I think that's when perception starts to change a little bit.
Yeah. How do you identify those residents that can be those great storytellers? Because we have residents of all various, like extroverts all the way to introverts and like super introverts. And so how do you find the right personalities who can tell the story the right way? Or does it even really matter?
Yeah. So there's some residents that doesn't matter who is interviewing them. They're just going to talk, and they're the layups. They're the easy ones.
Right.
I think one thing that I learned when I first started Dash, so we film 5, 6, 7, 8 shoots a month right now and make, I think we're up to like 90 videos a week.
Wow.
So we're making a lot of content. And a mistake that I made early on at Dash was hiring there was a local wedding videographer that I hired that didn't have a heart for seniors. They were super talented shooting weddings, super talented with a camera. But when he sat down with a 90-year-old, he didn't care about their story. Right. And so I think that if you don't have a videographer, someone behind the lens that actually cares about what the person's saying, the content, like that person's not going to open up. They're going to feel that you're using them for something. And if you know anything about older adults, you're going to get their true, authentic self. And if they think that if they don't like you and you can't have a connection, you're not interested, they're going to snip that out and not really share anything with you. And so I think that it really starts with who's asking the questions and what their motive is. If the resident can feel that you genuinely care about them, they're going to share some stuff that a lot of times we'll hear from communities. We had no idea about that with Miss Jones. And that's what we want to hear. That means we're doing our job of asking the right questions.
Yeah. I think it's great because what you mentioned there about, I guess, best way to describe it is no filter, or, put their guard up when they're telling their stories. You still have to be able to find the right person who understands that we're telling a story. We're not creating a video.
Yep.
I think that makes so much important. So you're doing 90 videos a week. So if somebody wants to start trying to do their own content or trying to work with that, what would be the basic process? Like, what would you tell them they would need to do to really set themselves up to be successful in creating good content and great storytelling?
From an operator's perspective?
Correct.
So what I say from an operator's perspective is if you want to really grow on social media, you need 3 people. You need a videographer to go out and film the content that has that heart. You need someone on the back end to edit the content and know the hooks, know how the platforms work, know how to put subtitles in an engaging way, know how to edit it appropriately that fits your brand standards. And then you have to have a social media manager, someone that takes that asset and pumps it out to all the different channels, even puts it on your website and does creative stuff with the content. So 3 people internally, that's all you need it doesn't matter how many communities you have, in my opinion. If you have those 3 people, you can properly tell your organization's story. The other route would be an external route, hiring someone like Dash Media to kind of outsource and do all of that.
Yeah. It seems like a large undertaking. Do you find that operators are more willing to work with you because they think, well, maybe I don't have the right expertise and I want my marketing team focused on, promoting and selling our amenities or that, and getting those stories to come out becomes more of a challenge for them when they look to outsource?
Yeah. I think for us, it's kind of funny. The marketing team, sometimes when we're doing our sales pitch, marketing team are the ones that have their guard up the most, because it's like, we're already doing this but I think for us, if people view what we do as an extension of team. I think the marketing teams in senior living are traditionally built on you got to do it all.
Yeah.
Or you have a digital marketing company that is checking the box of social media. And if reality for them, they're just putting together some sort of Canva template on Valentine's Day and saying happy Valentine's Day, and it doesn't move the needle at all. Where if you truly, we got to look at social media as we're not competing with each other. We're competing with snowboarding videos, football videos, puppy videos, baby videos. And so if you want people actually being interested, you have to realize you have to make your content interesting. And to make your content interesting, you got to have people that know how to do that. And so from a senior living perspective, you're going to get out of it what you invest into it. And so if you invest 5 minutes a week into it and the activities director is filming something on their phone and hitting post, that's what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
But if you're investing into people that know what they're doing, you're going to get some really good results that help recruit, that help sell, that help build culture, that help connect families, that do all those things that we're all trying to do.
So one of the things, and maybe that's just because my background is in food. And so when I'm on social media, I see a lot of food videos pop up, but it's for me, I'm always telling operators, you should be using food. Like visually, there's a lot of variety in color, and like the visceral feelings people have about food are a great way to engage. And so, do you find that you do a lot of storytelling around food, or do operators want you to tell different stories?
Technology continues to drive changes in senior care, and that includes food service. eMenu Choice is an award-winning point-of-service application for managing the dining function in senior living communities. This mobile, touchscreen-enabled software enhances the dining experience for residents while streamlining processes for staff. The flexibility and functionality of eMenu Choice makes it an effective solution for any type of senior living environment, from independent and assisted living to skilled nursing facilities. It works for production kitchens or restaurant-style service with options for per meal or a la carte pricing, and accommodates a variety of payments, including bill to account, meal credits, and credit cards. Created by a senior care provider with more than a century of experience serving older adults, eMenu Choice eliminates communication barriers between staff and residents while enabling person-centered choices and greater resident satisfaction. eMenu Choice, transforming dining for senior living.
We always ask, so we usually send in 2 videographers, and one is focused on just storytelling of the resident or the staff. The other's what we call side quests. And so the side quest, our favorite side quest is to go in the kitchen and see them, the chef cooking up lunch or cooking up dinner, and we'll mic up the chef and get them to talk about what they're cooking. And I think it surprises a lot of people how much thought goes into that meal. And a lot of times people view from the outside, even me being in the industry before I started filming, I just viewed it more of like cafeteria food where you're kind of cooking for the masses.
Right.
Well, what I've learned is a lot of communities, the chefs get to know the residents and no, Miss Jones likes her steak medium rare, but Miss Smith eats fish. So I'm cooking fish. So they know it's just like you're at home.
Yeah.
And so I think that people don't realize that because we don't, again, share the stories. But I think if you put a camera in the kitchen for an afternoon, you'll quickly learn that it's just like eating at home.
Yeah. It's amazing to me how the hardest part usually is getting that chef to open up for that. But I imagine like if you're in there for a while, like it just becomes like part of the nature of like, I'm here, I want to learn what you're doing. And then they get to start sharing. And then almost like the cameras and the microphone disappear.
Yep. And we actually kind of take that approach. So we do high-end productions where we have all the lights and the boom mic over top and just all the bells and whistles, but we try to keep it pretty bare bones. So we invest a lot into our equipment, but we keep our production pretty bare bones so that our goal is 5 minutes in the interview, I want people to forget there's a camera there and really open up and tell us how they really feel. Cause that's the kind of stuff that people connect with. And you can tell when you watch a video on social media, were they forced to say that or do they actually feel that way? You can usually tell because there's not a lot of paid actors that live in communities.
That's very true. So I guess some technical questions, being a content creator myself, when you're looking at various different platforms, do you have to do I'm sure this is a question people have. Do we have to have multiple videos of the same story or the same thing that goes in different platforms, or can you create one and use it everywhere? Like, what does that look like when you're thinking about going to do it on TikTok, or is it Facebook, or is it YouTube? You know, a lot
Yeah.
of places that can go.
I think there's probably varying um, opinions on this. Our opinion is if you've invested in making that 30-second video, why would you not put it everywhere? Because some people don't have TikTok, but they have Facebook. Some people don't have Facebook, but they have YouTube Shorts. And so our strategy is let's make really good content that inspires, educates, or entertains your desired audience. Once we have that asset created, let's put it on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you want to go. And what we have seen is in 2024, TikTok has been number one as far as views. It varies client to client for number two, but it goes between YouTube and Instagram, and then Facebook usually is third, or fourth. They're all really good though from a short form content, because when TikTok kind of took over and took so much of the audience, people said, okay, we need to get in the short form video game. And so all those platforms are now, even LinkedIn with their short form video feed. If you click the bottom there, you can watch it just like TikTok.
It's crazy how much that's influenced, like how we take in that content. What are some mistakes that if someone's trying to create content or they're curious about that, what are some mistakes that people can make, or maybe not mistakes, but things that they need to try to avoid when they're trying to create a good piece of content?
Stock images and just doing graphics of holidays. Don't even do, honestly, if you look at your social media page and it's only graphics of holidays, just delete your social media. You're hurting yourself more than helping yourself from that perspective. At least put out pictures of your real residents from your cell phone when things are happening around the community. I would say that should be the minimum threshold, but that mistake it happens all the time because it's safe. It's like we want our brand out there on Christmas or on Halloween, and we're going to use orange colors that says Happy Halloween from blank senior living. And it's just lazy.
And I don't see a lot of, it's interesting. Like occasionally on TikTok, I'll see like a carousel where you're scrolling through, but those aren't, I just keep on moving.
Yeah.
Right. I think we're there for the videos.
Yeah.
And it just seems so interesting to me that we've moved into this, like, it's almost like kind of a peek into what's happening, and what you're saying makes perfect sense about like stock photos and images.
Yeah.
So kind of one final question as we wrap up here. One thing that I'm always struggling with is trying to find the balance between authenticity and professionalism, right? Especially with like, I'm trying to promote my business. I want to be professional and know that we're doing that. But at the same time, people want to know me. They want to know what we do. I assume it's the same for community. So how do you guys try to find that balance between being authentic and bringing out the authentic like story, but also still trying to keep it somewhat professional so that it feels appropriate?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that from a quality perspective, everything we do is super professional. It's high-end equipment. It's going to be high quality. It'll somewhat have your colors. Like that's just depends on the strategy of the client. I think from the actual like substance, the answers that are shared, the clients that are like our fastest growing clients have no approval process.
Oh,
Which is interesting because when you have an approval process, if you go through too many revisions, you're doing two things. One is when you have a lot of revisions, you're telling the creative they're not doing a good enough job the first time.
Yeah.
So they're going to become less creative, there's going to become safer. The content's going to get safer. When it becomes safer, it becomes boring. When it becomes boring, nobody watches. And so our clients like PS Salon, they trust us. When you trust your people that are making your content, they can do things that they're allowed to fail. And when you're allowed to fail, you end up succeeding a lot more than you fail. And so, like I said, we've made probably 10,000 videos at this point. Out of those, we rarely get negative feedback. And if you do get negative feedback because you're too, like we had a lady go off on a tangent about racism and how she grew up and her parents were racist, but then she realized that everybody's the same and we all drink the same water. We're all the same people. And she learned. And so people still attacked her online. Like, why were you racist when you were a kid? But for every
Yeah.
one person that attacked her, there were 100 people that fought for her and said, like, look, this is being authentic. So that video got millions of views. It was a powerful message, but that organization was okay with being authentic. Like
Yeah.
that was real. Like to say I was racist when I was a kid and sharing that out there, that's a lot of organizations wouldn't share that. And so as long as the message and the meat of what you're getting out there is positive and has a good meaning behind it, then I think share it. My best posts on LinkedIn are the ones that I'm scared to hit post on.
Yeah.
But they're the ones that perform best because I'm being authentic. And I do have people that I'll send them sometimes if I feel weird about a post, I'll send it to somebody that I trust and say,
Yeah.
what do you think about this? Is this too self-serving or is this over the line? And more times than not, they just say hit post
Yeah.
and it works out.
It's so weird. Yeah. I think some of the best posts I've put online are ones where I talk about like my entrepreneurial journey, or I'm talking about the impact it has on my kids and the things that they're doing. And it makes a huge difference when you're authentic. So, well, Nathan, thanks for taking the time. How can the listeners learn more about Dash Media and maybe get you to help them do some food videos?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Just connect on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn /Nathan Jones Senior Living. You can search Dash Media or Nathan Jones and shoot me a message. Would love to chat.
Perfect. Well, Nathan, thanks again and have a great rest of the conference. And thanks for being on Tips from Trestle.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. That was fun.
So there it is, everybody. Another one in the books. Thanks again for tuning in. Please follow, like, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us on social media at Tips from Trestle. You can also learn more about the work I do by following me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. And be sure to check out Trestle Hospitality Concepts at www.trestlehospitalityconcepts.com. I'm your host, Aaron Fish, and this has been another episode of Tips from Trestle.